It's a great week for people who hate the worst people ever because Kristi Noem's husband exposed living a secret double life with fetish chats, bimbo selfies, and payments to bimbo models. We're talking about like $25,000 in payments and hundreds of thousands of messages. It's iconic. You literally could not pay an Etsy witch for this type of magic because Kristi Noem has finally been forced to speak on it, and you're not ready for what she said. A 56-year-old insurance salesman from Castlewood, South Dakota, husband of the worst woman ever who killed her dog and her goat and ran the entire Department of Homeland Security, was allegedly spending his free time online under a fake name in a crop top stuffed with makeshift lopsided boobs. And he was sending thousands of messages to fetish models, wiring them $25,000, telling them he wanted huge, ridiculous boobs. And he was only caught because he forgot his fake PayPal account was connected to his real voicemail, which said, "Noem Insurance, leave a message." And it only gets weirder because Trump has also been forced to publicly comment on his former cabinet secretary's family falling apart. And what he says tells you everything about where she stands right now. It's hilarious. Megyn Kelly went on her podcast and said something about Kristi Noem that nobody expected.
This is not what you want to see.
And Kristi herself, Kristi, dog killing Noem, has finally spoken. And the whole thing, the best part about this all, the whole thing traces back to an origin point so perfectly on brand for this awful, evil family that you couldn't write it. And unsurprisingly, it involves immigrants, just not in the way Kristi Noem ever wanted. And real quick, I'm Lauren Paritra. Willa Paritra is snoozing behind me. And we're going to ask you to take a moment to make sure you're subscribed. We currently still have a lead on Katie Miller, who, if you're new here, is the wife of Stephen Little Bitch Miller, the pale white nationalist from Santa Monica, the guy behind all of this ICE terror. And she's building her podcast on the backs of trafficked immigrants. We're fully bootstrapped, so the least you can do is comment, 6 words or more, save, share, follow us across all social platforms, and soon follow us across all podcasting places where you get your pods. Consider every action an FU to Katie and Stephen Little Bitch Miller. So,
as husbands, there's one person responsible for protecting our wives, and that's us.
Let's paint the picture here. Bryon Noem runs an insurance office in Watertown, South Dakota, and goes to church on Sundays. His storefront sign reads, "Old-fashioned service, easy as pie." He proposed to Kristi Noem on the 4th of July, 1991, under fireworks on his grandfather's boat. Married 34 years. Never ran for anything. He never signed up for this life. He just married somebody who was terribly evil and wanted it. Kristi Noem was known locally and not warmly as the Snow Queen after a pageant she won when she was young. And Kristi Noem went to go on and build a career, putting her nose in other people's business and private lives. So this was the whole point of everything she did. She signed legislation her critics called a license to discriminate against queer people. And as governor, she terminated a state contract with a transgender advocacy group. So she was like, I am a traditional values type of girl. Well, let's see how this is working out for her. It's always a front, isn't it? It's always the people you'd most expect. So by early 2025, we know this year she was still running the Department of Homeland Security. Bryon was doing what he'd always been doing, showing up, sitting behind her, being a doormat, looking like a man who made peace with something. His own family went on record saying that the Lewandowski situation had left him humiliated, but his faith, they said, basically meant he had no choice but to stay. Okay. Whatever your God says about Kristi Noem. And Washington had been calling it the worst kept secret in DC for years. Like, everyone knew this was happening, and Kristi Noem didn't really appear to be hiding it. But then in March, Kristi appeared before a House Judiciary Committee hearing. It was iconic, and Bryon was there behind her as usual, being a doormat, and a congressman asked her directly,
"So, Secretary Noem, at any time during your tenure as Director of Department of Homeland Security, have you had sexual relations with Corey Lewandowski?"
Mr. Chairman, I am shocked that we're going down and peddling tabloid garbage in this committee today.
She's like, this is insane. This is tabloid garbage. She did not say no. That's not a no. Days after that hearing, we know Trump gave her the boot, and then she was reassigned as special envoy for the Shield of Americas. Bryon went back to Watertown. But then this happened. The Daily Mail found thousands of messages between Bryon and multiple women connected to a fetish community The first community was called Bimbofication. Great name. The whole psychology behind it is that you're escaping whatever you have to be publicly. This community was about becoming somebody whose only purpose is to be admired. So a clean break from your real life, a fantasy of will. And again, I'm not here to yuck somebody's yay, but what I am here to yuck is Bryon Noem being married to Kristi Noem. And he was doing all this while his wife was Secretary of Homeland Security. There were photos. His face was clearly visible, balloon breasts under a crop top, ties pointed outwards. He was wearing pink hot pants, and he was operating under the stage name Jason Jackson with a PayPal account to match. He told one model, "You turn me into a girl." He described himself to another as passionate about huge, ridiculous boobs. The Daily Mail reported, when it's so iconic that the Daily Mail were the ones to out their own people, reported $25,000 sent across PayPal and Cash Apps. Many of the photos produced while Kristi was actively serving in Trump's cabinet as the worst cabinet pick, most evil person of all time. And one of the women accidentally pocket dialed him. And what came up was a voicemail that said, "Noem Insurance, leave a message." That's the part that everyone was able to run with. And here's the part that they didn't. Axios White House reporter Mark Caputo posted this week that he'd received a tip from Bryon back in February, about 2 months before any of this was published. The tipster was described as an undocumented immigrant sex worker who wanted to go public, as in Caputo's words, vengeance for Department of Homeland Security's immigration enforcement, the agency his wife was running. And if that's true, just think about it for a second. Kristi Noem at the time was enforcing this brutal, terrorizing immigration policy, and the person who decides the public should know about her husband's secret life is somebody that was directly affected by that enforcement. Beautiful, isn't it? So the Daily Mail verified it before they ran with it, but the origin of the tip, who started this and why, got completely buried under everything else. It was a former CIA officer that said, if journalists could find this, could find foreign intelligence service, almost certainly they already had this. A former Soviet spy, yes, an actual former Soviet spy said, it's astounding that somebody whose spouse is at that level has this kind of bad judgment. And then the fallout started. The fallout was chef's kiss. Trump was asked directly about it.
Trump tells the outlet he knew nothing about it, adding, "Wow, I feel badly for the family. If that's the case, that's too bad."
And then Megyn Kelly went on her podcast and addressed the Lewandowski rumors, the ones that Kristi Noem called tabloid garbage, under oath.
I don't know what that is, but I can speak for all women in America when I say we don't want to see our husband doing it. I mean, I feel for Kristi Noem. It puts a totally different spin on the affair she's allegedly been having with Corey Lewandowski. Who could blame her? Who could blame her? It feels almost noble at this point. I mean, like, it's not noble. I mean, they're both married and have children and all the bit. I'm just saying it definitely gives a different look at it.
So here she is saying, I feel bad for Kristi Noem. It puts a totally different spin on the affair. And she calls it noble. And I don't think, are you calling Kristi Noem having an affair with her subordinate noble? Because that's a take, Megyn Kelly. That's a really interesting take and an abuse of power. Or are you calling it noble that her husband did this? Because then you and I might have some alignment here. But like Megyn Kelly, who could blame her? She's saying who could blame her for cheating? It feels almost noble. Very, very interesting choice of words to describe Kristi Noem's affair with her subordinate. But now there's a story circulating in D.C., not fully confirmed. Kristi Noem may have known a lot more about her husband's private life than the word blindsided suggests. A political commentator who's been in those circles said it directly this week. To say she had no idea really flies in the face of what she was saying. The New York Times asked Bryon for a comment. His entire response was, "I will at some point. Today's not the day. I appreciate your heart." From the man who sat behind his wife at every hearing, who was humiliated, according to his own family, who never asked for public life and is now a national news cycle. 4 words to the New York Times: I appreciate your heart. And then Kristi Noem spoke. Kristi Noem spoke. She said through a spokesperson, Miss Noem is devastated. The family was blindsided by this and asked for your privacy and prayers at this time. Oh, Kristi Noem, you want privacy now? After you went on a reign of terror? deciding that other people's private lives were your business and everyone else's. It just occurred to you that the same rule might apply at home. It's so beautiful, isn't it? When the karma really comes around. According to circles in DC, people knew that this was going on. It wasn't a secret in these tight circles. People knew it. She'd been asked about it before and said she didn't want to talk about it. And now she's asking for privacy and prayers. And Bryon is back saying, I appreciate your heart. Unfucking believable. And to put a bow on this, to wrap it all up, we know, according to these reports, that the person who leaked this all was an undocumented immigrant. This is reported by TMZ, but there's been verified claims. So we're rolling with it. Looks like the cherry on top of all this is that an undocumented immigrant got a little bit of justice for us all. And we love that. Back with more.